So, welcome. I am super happy to have you all here. Some of you new faces and some of you old faces. I'm always super happy to have you. And I do those webinars so that people who are new to quantum liberation have a chance to talk to me and to experience it firsthand, because you are all in different countries. Some of you are in Portugal, some of you are in Spain, in England, in France, in Hungary, and the others I don't know, and different parts of France as well. So obviously, I would not be able to come and see you all in such a short amount of time, and it's so fun to have this technology to be able to do it. So for those of you who have no clue of who I am and what I do, quantum liberation is what God created through me, because I cannot really take the credit for creating it, in that sense that, when you get intuitive flashes or when you get ideas, or it's like, I firmly believe that the ideas are out in the ether and then they get downloaded in several people around the globe at the same time. If like the same idea with when the telephone was invented, and then lots of people got the idea of the telephone, for example, this kind of thing, right? So this kind of new way of doing healing is coming through now, because I think it's time to have things that are way faster and more effective, and so that we can have fun while healing ourselves. And then a few years ago, I realized that it's much more than just healing. It is a way to direct your life. It is a way to create your life. It's like this internal, how do you call that? Steering wheel. And that it's totally natural to have this ability to co-create with life, and to be able to say, okay, where I'm at, okay, I see, not my preference, but instead of going towards another preference of the mind or of the ego, you let go of what is there, and automatically you align yourself with what is for your highest and best good. So automatically, each time you let go of a level of reality in one way, you jump to another level of reality that is more aligned with your highest and best good. Does that make sense to everyone? I can see you, so you can go like this, or like this, or like this, or you can type if you have questions. Okay? Good. And when I say that we can quantum jump to different reality, I'm going to stay soft, because this is the first time that you're meeting me. So let's just say that a lot of things are possible, and way more than we think that they are. Reality is way, way more dependent on our perception. And I am not talking about only how other people will react to us. Because, for example, I have an exercise that I call the gift of the annoying people. So that's really fun. You get to heal your relationship with someone who was previously annoying to you. And they become nice, or at least they become nicer. And then you continue doing the work and they become nicer and nicer. Very nice, right? It's kind of understandable. If you stop having reaction to their shittiness, they will stop being shitty with you, because it's no fun, right? But I'm not talking about like pretending not to react. Just, it does not trigger you anymore, right? But so that's possible. But the body also can self-heal. The body can go into a state of self-healing for things that are supposedly not curable, if the body has resolved its inner conflict. We can never, ever get to tell people you will heal, because you never know. Some people will, some people won't. You don't know. And you cannot make any promises and you cannot make any diagnosis. But I've seen it happen, right? And if anything, worst case scenario, the person will feel better. So, you know, for some people, they've decided to die, cool. But at least they will die in peace. And they will die with an open heart and feeling great about themselves. So, you know, it's always good, right? And then, well, then, you know, you have other things that are possible as well. I don't know why I feel way more metaphysical than usual. Usually I'm very, very grounded in reality, but I have to say that lately I've had experiences that really challenge my perception of reality. So when V is asking, how do you describe reality? It's a good question, V. Thank you very much for asking. And I would say reality is the experience that we are living in this physical body and in the dream body as well. And the experience that we are living depends in a huge amount, in a huge part, on our perceptions. If we change our perception, our reality will start to shift. Not only with other people, but things that happen to you will also start to shift. And if you really, really push it to the limit, then you can actually have quantum jumps into realities that have physical details that are drastically different than the previous one. And you're like, whoa, what just happened here? Okay. So, but what interests us to begin with is to feel better, isn't it? Right? That's what we start with, right? We start with, I don't feel so good. How can I feel better? Right? So we start by wanting to let go of where we're at in order to, you know, have a reality that is more pleasant. And then at one point, we get to be at peace with what we have. And either way, then it just becomes a question of preference. There is no more resistance to what is. And then your healing can fast track. Because as long as you're in resistance to how you are feeling, then that's going to take longer. Does that make sense? You guys are with me? Yeah? And that's one point that usually people forget, is that they want to heal. They don't want to be the way they are anymore. Except that it's going to take longer because they are in resistance. Okay? So, do you have any questions? Do you have any comments? You can actually unmute yourself as well and give yourself the freedom to talk. You can just raise your hand if you are on visual, or you can unmute yourself. I much prefer to make this interactive instead of just me talking all the time. But if you want, I can keep talking. I can do both. Yeah, go for it. Yeah, go ahead.
Isn't it also about stop thinking too much? And then you will feel better about your feelings?
Well, go ahead. Stop thinking too much.
Like stop thinking and asking all the time, why is it like this? Can't I change it? And how will it be in the future?
Right. So what happens is that you no longer ask yourself why it is the way it is, because the question why belongs to the story. It belongs to the narrative. It belongs to the perception. It belongs to the result of why it came to be. The question why is pretty simple. Why those things happen, or why you're the way you are is because you have inner programming, subconscious, that create the way you perceive and the way you react and the way you act and the way you choose. So if you want to let go of something, it's not the question why, it's the question where. Where do I feel it? How is it making me react? And then you have a chance it's freedom. Okay, and we will make a demonstration, so you will get to feel it. Okay, but as soon as you ask the question why, you're trapped, because that's the victim wanting to find a good explanation as to why those people did this and why do I feel that way and why blah blah blah. We don't care, right? Why question is great if you want to go to analysis, and for some people it's going to be very useful. You may need a few years of asking yourself why, etc. And then you're like, okay, I'm done with the whys. I found reasonable explanations. Now I just want to be free. Does that answer your question?
Yeah, thank you.
Okay, you're welcome, my pleasure. And it actually makes me think of something that most coaches in success coaches like Tony Robbins and those kind of things in the States, they say that about 80 to 90% of the results are completely based on the systems that create them. The systems meaning the internal alignment. 80 to 90% of the results you have in your life are dependent on your inner programming, on your subconscious mind. So most people, when they want to change what they're getting as a result, they want to change their actions. Well, I'm going to do something different. Well, when you do this, you're only acting upon the 10% of the conscious mind, right? So 10% of the result is depending on your actions. 80, 90% is dependent on your inner alignment. So of course, it does not mean that you don't take action, because without action, you're not going anywhere, you're not doing anything. Books are not going to be magically written without you writing them. You have to write them if you want it published. But if you don't think it's going to work, then it's not going to work. Does that make sense? Yeah? Cool. And so that's when you see real magic happens. Like right now, I'm working with a couple of ladies who both have advanced cancers. And my first question is, tell me all the reasons why it's not going to work. And tell me all the reasons why you don't want to stay alive. Because unless we clear them, it's not going to work. And we don't know if they will stay alive or not. I don't know. We shall see. But we'll make it so that they're at peace with dying and at peace with living. And then true choice can emerge, right? So, any other questions or any other comments? Good. I'm happy for very silly questions as well, because very silly questions and very obvious questions usually are just great. Okay. So I talked about how quantum liberation is a tool for self-awareness, and it's a very portable tool, because as soon as you become aware of something, you then have the ability to free yourself from it and dissolve it, which means that you are going to be way more inclined to go and look inside yourself. Because if you have emotions and you know you're going to have to suffer through them, then it's much less desirable to go through them, right? But if you have emotions and you know that as soon as you've felt them, you can find the pattern that created that emotion and free yourself, dissolve it, and gain more energy and gain more freedom, then it becomes a game. It's super fun. It's like, woohoo! awesome. I get to expand my reality. I get to expand myself. Right? So most people say, well, I just want to feel my feelings. Yeah, you get to feel them, and you get to dissolve the root pattern that created the feeling as well. And each time those emotions, those patterns were holding you hostage, they were keeping your energy locked. And so as soon as you free it, you regain that energy that was stuck in you.
Hi.
Hi.
Darling. I just want to say, I can remember sitting here at this stage when we're doing the training and just thinking, what on earth is she talking about? And what on earth is all this about? And kind of, yeah, it kind of seems almost too good to be true. And I know you really focus on that in the training as well, and sort of clearing our limited beliefs around that. And yeah, I've kind of like approached it tentatively, but having used it, it is remarkable. It's quite remarkable. But I just know what this bit feels like now. What is it? And I think because of some of the other training that I've done and how we can use like this sort of massive source of energy that we have within us and through source, that I've seen and know that it does heal and it works. But yeah, I just really want to commend you, Tamara, as well, also here for like really driving this forward and sharing this work. And thank you.
You're welcome. Thank you. How have you seen it work? I mean, it's pretty recent that you're using it. Is that your little? You don't need to mute yourself because the question was directed to you, so it's okay with the dog barking and all. More specifically, what have you seen?
I've used it like often myself. So I've used it in the moment when I've been triggered, something's happened, and instead of sort of like spiraling down into my usual reaction towards things, I've been able to use the quantum liberation and clear, and and using it kind of in real time, like you said before about it makes things seem more like fun rather than sort of getting caught up in the story and what that other person said, or it's like one particular occasion that's really standing out, where I got triggered and I couldn't afford to be triggered. Yeah, it really like saved my butt in particularly in that instance of just clearing the patterns around it. I use it with my clients as well, and I've found like with the modalities that I use, it just sort of seems to supercharge it in a way. It's like bringing this extra sort of thing, this healing energy in, and yeah, and the other people that I've shared it with have come back with similar stories. Even somebody about to take their driving test and getting caught up in all the the negative patterns and thinking around that, and yeah, being successful with it. So
you mean using it to let go of the fear and doubt, and therefore
yeah, I'm not there's no way I'm going to pass. You'd had a lot of sort of influence from family and friends. Actually, there's no way you're going to pass your test, and QL really helped her with that, for example.
Yeah.
There's many, but yeah.
Cool. Thank you. It's actually it's true, Charmaine. You're making me think of me going to draw live models a few days ago, and I haven't drawn very often in my life, very seldom actually. But every time I like to draw live models. But when I draw, I'm like, oh my God, I don't know what I'm doing. Blah, blah, blah. It's so ugly. Blah, blah, blah. I don't know what I'm doing. So I haven't drawn in like a couple of years. I go to this live model thing a few days ago, and I start drawing. It looks like shit. And I'm like, okay, feel into where do you feel it looks like shit and clear it. And so I'm drawing and I'm clearing and I'm like twitching because I twitch when I clear things, and people are looking at me a little weirdly, but I don't care, I don't really care. I'm just drawing. And by the end of the hour, because I only stayed 1 hour, I was kind of done afterwards. My drawing started looking like something good, And my friend who had brought me there, she looks at my drawing and she's like, "How long has it been since you've drawn?" And I mixed up the dates and I was like, 1 year. She's like, "Really? I cannot believe it's that good after, not drawing anything for a year." And I didn't think of it, but I realized it's because I was clearing all the time. So you look at the first drawing and the middle and the end of the session, it's dramatically different. Just because I was letting go of my inhibition to drawing. Same thing happened with Spanish. I had kind of learned Spanish with CDs. At the time it was CDs, those CD languages things. And I had gone to one semester of evening classes. So needless to say, I did not know how to speak Spanish, but I had some basis. And it was like 15 years ago or something. So at the time I had been a tour guide and they wanted to send me to San Francisco in Spanish. I was like, sure. During the entire plane ride, I used the plane ride to clear myself of the fear, doubt, and oh my God, what am I doing? Not only do I not know San Francisco, but I don't know how to speak Spanish. When I landed that plane, I was able to answer questions and make sentences in Spanish. And the Spanish doctors, there was like, I don't know, a bunch of maybe 40 Spanish doctors, thought I spoke Spanish really well. Because I had let go of all my fears and inhibition, I was able to understand the meaning of their sentences and be able to reply in a way that actually made sense. Right? So, yeah. And when you said saved my butt, it made me think of a not so fun story that happened this summer. Do you guys want to hear it? Yeah? Okay. So this is a story about how quantum liberation literally saved my butt in a case of an emergency. I was in Romania and I was hitchhiking between two remote spots because I was going to meet a caravan with horses and I was going to go horseback riding there. And so I get on the car with, maybe a 30-year-old guy, like either construction worker or a peasant. He had like really muscular guy, big hands, like lots of muscles in his hand. And he starts coming on to me. I'm like, no, thank you, but thank you very much. I'm of age of, to be your mother. Thank you so much. I'm, thank you, but no, thank you. I was like, okay, I'm freaking out. Where do I freak out? Ta-da-ta-da, I'm clearing it. And then he's just like, can I please take your hand? And I'm like, okay, he's driving. So he takes my hand and he holds it so strong and he wouldn't let go. And I'm like, oh shit, I'm in real trouble. Because if this guy stops the car and starts making a move on me, there is no way I can defend myself. No way. This guy is like 4 times my strength. I can't do anything, right? So I'm like, the only way, if I struggle, he will, struggle back, right? So the only way I can get out of this is if I reach his heart. If I'm heart-centered enough that I am not afraid and I'm super calm and I actually reach his heart, because I know full well that the heart connection dissolves any anger, any hostility, and any, any bad feelings between people. So I cleared myself and I cleared myself all the way talking to him. And then at one point I take his hand in my hand, gently, almost stroking it. And I really meant it. And I'm like, thank you so much. I'm so honored, thank you. And I put it back on his lap, and he made a face, but he let go of my hand then, and then he dropped me off at the bus station. And he was like, are you sure? And I'm like, thank you so much. You know, my hand on my heart. Thank you so much. I'm giving him love. And I was like, okay. You know, I didn't think much of it at the time because I tend to forget those kind of events. But it's not the first time that quantum lib, as you guys call it in Manchester, has been super useful in times of emergency, let's say. We could have another discussion about why our society is so twisted that a woman, to get out of a situation like this, needs to make the guy feel good about himself. But that's a completely different story. And I do believe that by doing the quantum lib on ourselves, we're also helping all of humanity. Because when we're clearing generational patterns, it's clearing in all our family. So I've seen, and my mother one time actually gave me a pretty acute, amazing illustration of that. At the time I lived in San Diego, I think. And I realized I did not really know what joy and pleasure and fun was. So I started doing this inner clearing on myself about joy and pleasure and having fun in life. That was on a Friday, so I decided I'm just going to do it for the weekend since I didn't have a plan, since I didn't know how to have fun, right? So I do that during the weekend. I'm having fun with it. On Monday morning comes 8 o'clock call, because it's like, you know, afternoon for my mother, who's like waiting impatiently to call me. And she's like, Tamara, you'd be so proud of me. During the weekend, I realized I didn't know what fun was, what joy was pleasure, and blah, blah, and I feel so much better now. And she was actually using the same sentences, word for word, that I had cleared in myself. I was like, okay, then my mother is super intuitive, which I knew already. But what I had realized then is that the things that we clear in ourselves are immediately cleared in other people if they're related to us. If it's a family, an ancestral pattern. Pretty cool, no? It has happened also with another member of my family who we had made a list of ancestral patterns, and then she's like, okay, I'm going to clear 2 patterns, but just for me. And I will ask specifically, not for you. And she went into another room. She did that. She came back with the list. I checked all the patterns. I'm like, you cleared this and this because I don't have them in myself anymore. She's like, yep, that's right. Kind of fun, right? So, you know, the thing is, it's like, if you have an issue with someone, you do the work on yourself and it clears. So it's kind of fun. If you have an issue with a situation in your life, you do the work on yourself and it clears. Even if it's a situation that seemingly does not depend on you, it doesn't matter. It's in your life. And it doesn't matter if the situation comes from a past life or future life or this life. It's in your life. You can feel it. You can let it go. You can dissolve it, and you can access a higher version of yourself. Good? Any questions or comments, or shall we do a little bit of a demonstration? Going once. Twice. We're all good? All good for demonstration? Yeah? All good. Okay. So we did say that today was about abundance. So first we're going to do it about all the yeah, but that may make you feel like you cannot let go of things immediately. Like, you know, for example, financial abundance. You're like, well, my financial abundance can't change immediately. Obviously, it needs time. I warn you that when things start to clear, I will twitch, and sometimes in dramatic ways. I will also burp unless I hit the mute button in time, like this. Just burped, but you can't hear me. Makes me twitch, makes me burp. Awesome. Makes me yawn also. And then people are like, are you bored? No, just clearing. Okay, so how do you feel about being able to let go of your stuff immediately? Does it sound too good to be true? Does it sound like it's going to work for everyone, but not for you? Does it sound like, well, wait and see? You are all talk, lady. I'm waiting to see if it's really going to work. You know, coming up with things, and if one of them resonates, or if you have a reaction to it, like, no, not me, then there's something in it for you. Okay, one time I was doing a talk and a lady got offended that I was saying something. I was fishing out for patterns, so I was looking at people and just saying patterns, and I said something. She was like, I don't have that pattern. Well, why you looked at me and I don't have that pattern? And then I thought, wow, she really has a strong emotional reaction for someone who was not affected by that pattern. So if you have any kind of an emotional reaction to what I'm saying, then locate it in your physical body. Okay? Do you have a pattern that says healing takes time? Or healing is complicated? Or I've been on this path for so long, things are not going to shift immediately. Did you all find something? Yes, yes, yes? Okay, cool. Feel it in your physical body. See how it makes you react. And let's take care of it. We love it. Thank you for being there. That pattern kept you safe, took care of you, but now you've outgrown it. And how is it now? I forgot, I should have asked you between 0 and 10 how strong it was, so that now you can see how it has gone down. Oops, forgot. Is it still present? Do you still remember it? Because when we clear it, sometimes we actually don't remember it. Is it something that says, well, it can't go away immediately? Yeah, Charmaine, you've already forgotten yours, right? Yeah. And is there something that said, well, you can't possibly have the pattern dissolve in everyone all at once? Why not? Okay, how is it now? The same pattern and not another one, because it's so easy. Your mind will jump. It's like, no, but this is gone, but you know, I have another issue now. So you still have the same pattern that you were looking at, or is it gone? Yeah, you guys have to give me feedback, because otherwise you know, we're not that many. It's about 20 participants, so it's a small group. So we might as well make it interactive, otherwise I shall continue. So now, how are you guys feeling about the possibility of, you know, having your things go away just like that? Sounds good? Yeah? If you feel nothing before and after, it means that the pattern is not active for you, absolutely. So then we're going to find something else so that you can experience it. So Ruth, if you still have something, then look at what makes it stay, including a possible one that I forgot is I am slower than most, or I'm a fuck up, or things that work for others don't work for me. You see how sometimes I need to find the right wording for it to clear in someone. Okay, so if you still have the pattern of it doesn't work for you, feel it in your body. And we can pretend that we're opening up the heart chakra with white light. And sometimes, sometimes we receive injunctions from our parents or our society that say things like, well, you're different. You don't work like other people. Things that work for you don't work for other people. And we believe it and we keep it. And then we can release it, obviously. Okay? So, Sophie, how is it now? Better. It's better. Okay. Good. So now, since the topic for today was abundance, here is how I do it. Okay. Most people, when they want to create something, they just focus on what they want, more or less successfully. And then they're like, well, I got what I want, or I didn't get what I want. But I have another approach. And that approach is the indirect approach. If you have, okay, I'm muting you mode because otherwise there is too much noise. So the indirect approach to creating something is that I use what I want to create as a general direction. And I'm going to go in that direction or better. And so instead of focusing, I want 10,000 euros, for example, or 10 million euros, might as well dream big. I'm going to be like, well, I'm going in the direction of having 10 million euros. But let's see how it makes me feel to have what I want, what I have now. Let's see how it makes me feel to have what I want in the future. And I'm going to clear all the super positive, all the super negative, all the emotions, all the yabuts, all the patterns that are there in the way. So there's a little bit of lead work, right? But what happens when you do that is that you're actually cultivating the soil. You're feeding the soil so that by the time you're ready to plant the seed grows and blossoms to what it's truly meant to be. Because most people focus on an external thing, but very often they're quite disappointed when they get it because they're like, well, that's not what made me happy. That is not what made me fulfilled. So what I say is, you want fulfillment? Let's create it now. You want happiness? Let's create it now. You want to feel on track? Let's create that feeling now. So that when you have that feeling, you are moved by that feeling. And you're going to make the choices that are naturally aligned with your highest and best good, because that's what you're vibrating. Right? So then it's a law of emergence instead of a law of attraction. It's a law of emerging who you truly are, the highest and best version of yourself, which then allows you to receive what is for your highest and best good. And you keep doing the work. You keep on clearing the things so that you are more and more on track. And anytime you get off track, poof, you clear it and you're back on track. And that track becomes wider and brings about more possibilities. So concretely, in the case of abundance, first, we look at the financial situation and we clear it, or your situation in general. I did that. I did it, and in a few weeks, I was out of debt because I really went in depth to go and look how it made me feel to be heavily in debt. So how does it make you feel, your financial situation right now? How's that make you react? Happy, disappointed, trapped? You see what I mean? That make you feel? Like, I'm never going to get out of it, or I don't know what I can do to change it. Okay, so it makes you anxious, trapped, helpless. Okay, anyone else? Fear, failure, dependent. I love your honesty, you guys. This is how we can actually shift things. Time and money flow out of your hand. Heavy, shame, hopeless. Good. Bucket with a big hole in the bottom. You two of you have the same issue. For you, you guys receive, but you let it go immediately. So feel it into it and see where you feel it in your physical body. And how does it make you react? Let's take care of it, shall we? Oh, I forgot. Between 0 and 10, how strong is it? 0 being gone and 10 being like, oh my God, it's so big. It will just never go away. It's going to be like this forever. Okay, you got a number? Okay. So let's take care of it. And obviously during a workshop, I teach you how to do it for yourself so that you can become autonomous. That's my goal. I love when people become autonomous. And then they can help me. And we all progress. We all each other help each other up. It's fun. Okay, how's it now? We might as well also teach you guys how to receive, how to be safe, and how to recognize the energy of love, the energy of light, and how to be safe receiving, opening up to receive. There you go. How are you guys feeling now? How to feel sustained, how to feel supported, how to feel nourished in the best way, of course. Okay, how are you guys feeling now? Always for the same thing that you started with. We're not going to resolve your whole financial issue in 5 minutes for 20 people. You know, we might, but you never know. Feeling lighter, cool. Okay, what about the others? Excellent. So then feel into what's not quite there. You know, some people are like, well, my issue can't go away if I don't have the full individual attention, right? That's not true. You have the full individual attention. You're connected to source, you're connected to love, you're connected to light. You have their full attention. How's that now? Give me feedback. You don't really know what to do or how to receive. I feel that I'm being taken care of. If I don't know how, yeah, that's the thing. It's like we first install the feeling of knowing what it feels like to be taken care of, right? And V, all you need to do is, okay, feel into the hesitancy about receiving, maybe, like feeling a little bit, I don't have the word for it. Can we take care of it? Yes? B, you okay if we take care of it? Okay. How are you feeling now? Now you're smiling. Okay, good. Slider, huh? Cool. Excellent. Good. What about, do you want to say something or are you okay? Okay, okay. What about the others? How are you feeling now? Ah, good one. Someone says, I don't really know how to feel better. Sometimes we're so used to feeling a little shitty, and we're so used to looking at ourselves or looking at life as problems that we keep on looking at, like, what's the next problem, right? How is it now? I forgot to unmute myself after burping. Oops. How are you feeling now, Ruth, with what we've just cleared? So, Charmaine, if you feel quite neutral about the situation, now look and see if it's now possible to have what you want. Does it work even if you don't see me in the video? Yes, it does. I've done a lot of sessions over the phone. It doesn't matter. You all hear. It even works in replay. I've had people tell me that they've had tremendous shifts just looking at the video. I'm like, okay, cool. Okay, so are you guys okay, or is there still something? Okay, feel into the if there is still something for any of you that still have the little bit. And if you have pouting in there, let's take care of the pouting as well, because sometimes you have pouting about it's not fair that I'm in this situation. And then you can't change it because you're stuck in the it's not fair. Right. Okay. Another subject for next time is knowing what you want so that you can actually attract it, and being okay focusing on something. Oops, I guess it started to come through. Okay. Because of course, if you can't, if you're only focusing on what's not working, it's difficult to start focusing on what's working and what you want. But after a while, it starts coming anyway, because you're clearing so much of the suffering, then you start becoming neutral, and naturally you start creating. At first, in the healing path, at first you move away from pain, and then that's not sustainable, because after a while it's like, well, big deal, I'm not suffering anymore. Does that mean that I stop? Or does it mean that I start focusing on what I truly want, my big dream in life? And that's a sustainable goal, because that one is always in expansion. And that one will take you through a wonderful life, because you will surf the wave of expansion all the time. Okay? Very different. At first we think of, oh, it's healing. And then we're like, oh, it's actually my inner governance. It's actually my inner steering wheel. I can use it all the time to keep on going and to keep being the best version of myself. And that's cool, as you say, Claude. That is very cool. That is way cooler than anything I could have imagined when I first started this. No idea what was possible. And I'm still like, oh my God, with the recent shifts, I'm like, oh my God, this is like even way cooler than I even thought it was. So yeah, it's very cool. So Gail, it's about accepting. Yeah. It's about accepting. Well, feeling to, you mean that opening up to receive? Is that what you mean? Being able to open up to receive, because accepting, most people use it in, well, it's okay, you know, everything is perfect. So this is called spiritual bypass or spiritual BS. I'm being bad, but you know, I call this sugar over shit. I am accepting what is happening, not in the way you meant it, but in the way of pretending that things don't bother us when they actually bother us, right? And that's not going to work, because you're just going to stay in justification on sugar over shitness, which is not very pleasant, because it still smells pretty bad. But for you, yeah, you know, you can be spiritual and say it like it is, right? So for you, Gail, if you want a little tweak about opening up to receive, maybe we can give for everyone to have the discernment to know what's for your highest and best good and what's not. Oops, so that you can recognize which energy is good and which one is not. Which opportunities are good to seize and which ones are not for you. Because very often what I see is that people are like, oh, wow, this is so cool. I want to learn it. And then their mind starts with the yeah, but, blah, 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 yeah, but, blah, blah, blah. And they start believing the yeah, but, blah, blah, blah. And they stay in their little, you know, in their situation. Whereas, cool, that really shifted something. Excellent. I'm glad. Okay. So when you feel your heart open, that excitement, you want to follow that. Not the excitement of the emotion, but the excitement of the life coming back, the life moving through you and showing you, yep, that's for me. That's the good, right? Good. So how are you guys feeling now? Good? Are you okay? Good. So now I'm open and available to answer any questions. We have several trainings coming up. We have a training in Budapest. We have a training in, hold on one sec, in Paris in English. And we have another one in Manchester. You feel you need a recap. Can we attend the Manchester training again? Yes, of course, you can. That's the great thing. You come to one training and then you can come back to the next ones as long as there is space. Okay? And then same thing with level 2, level 3, etc. And for the Manchester one, we're going to have a bigger room because we're going to be at the monastery. So during the training, we learn how to connect to source. We learn how to connect to that energy of our hearts. We learn how to use that connection for ourselves first. And Ruth is, yes, there will be a level 2. We will talk about it when we will be in Manchester. And yes, the monastery is just so beautiful with 10 O's at the end. So where was I? Telling you what we were doing during the workshop. So first we go through all the reasons why it's not going to work for you, and why you won't be able to do it, and why blah, 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 and blah, blah, blah. And we do that, all the resistances, all the fears, the doubts, the I'm not good enough, etc., etc. We do this every day, because one time I attended several weeks of intuitive training, and by the end of the weeks, I was worse than when I started, because my all the resistance had gone up, but I didn't know how to clear them. So then I realized that it's super important to clear the resistance, because otherwise it doesn't work. Okay. And then we do a recapitulation exercise so that you can clear all the major events in your life. What to do also if you've had an accident, and how to clear before, or major trauma or whatever else, how to clear that. What else do we do? We open up our hearts to love. We do a specific exercise to open up our hearts to love and receive love and abundance, and teach you guys how to co-create, to be aligned with what you want to create. What else? That's quite a bit already. And is there anything else that I've forgotten? Basically, by the end of the weekend, not only you know how to do it, but it seems natural and it seems normal for you to do it, because we've cleared so much of your doubts and fears that it becomes just, of course, that's completely natural. Of course I can do it. You can zoom in from another place, meaning that you can attend the workshop remotely, but you can do it even if this is your first time. This is really for people who live really far away. So I've done the Zooms with people who were in Quebec, or they were in Guyana. They just couldn't come just for a weekend, okay? But to do all the exercises, it's much better if you're in Europe, if you can come. All the workshops follow the same format, which is Friday evening, 6:30 in the evening until about 9. And then Saturday and Sunday, it's all day, 9:30 to about 6. You can attend the workshop by reserving it with an €80 deposit. And then if you need to, we can work out a payment plan. I've been there. I've had very little money in my life. And so I've changed my financial situation with quantum liberation. So I want to make it available for people. Okay. Do you have any questions? Any comments? Just thank you. Oh, thank you. Well, thank you for everyone. So for those of you who watch us in replay, thank you very much. We love you and hope to talk to you soon, or to see you soon.